The problem was never the keyboard. It was the 6 seconds before your fingers touched it. That little gap between feeling something and doing something about it. Most men never learn to live in that gap. And because they don't, they spend years letting complete strangers push their buttons. 6 seconds. That's all it takes. To type something you can never take back. One message, one comment, one reply. You fired off while your blood was still hot. The moment that follows you around, you're a whole lot longer than you expected. And the internet doesn't forget. It doesn't forgive. And it doesn't care what you meant. I'm going to show you how to live in that gap. Because once you do, you stop being a man that the internet can use against you. Welcome to The Useful Man, a channel about learning, growing, and staying useful in a world that gets stranger by the day. These are the field notes of life, not fantasy life, not privileged life, not influencer life, just real life. These videos are about learning, growing, and becoming more capable in the world around you. I've made enough mistakes in this area to write a manual about it, and it all starts with one rule men break every single day. Let me give it to you. Listen, I get it. We've all had bad days. Somebody breaks your heart, the boss yells at you, you get cut off in by traffic, you get a flat tire, the bills pile up, the stress piles up, and the next thing you know, you're sitting online at 11:30 at night typing something online you probably shouldn't. And the internet gives you the perfect place to do it. You can throw your anger, your frustration, your relationship drama, your emotional meltdowns right out into the world for everybody to see. And people do, every single day. They scream at cousins and friends online. They post revenge status updates after a breakup. They write things designed to hurt somebody. They try to publicly embarrass each other. And sometimes grown adults start acting like emotional toddlers because somebody disagreed with them on Facebook. I want you to take a second and be honest with yourself. How many times have you ever seen something blow up online, a fight, a rant, a meltdown, from somebody you actually have on your friends list? A friend, a relative. You don't engage, you don't comment, you don't leave a like, you don't send a thumbs up, you just read it. Read it and gasp. The only thing you're doing is hanging your head low and going, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Why did they say that? And God forbid other people are in the room when you read it, because you know what your next move is. It's, oh my gosh, you have to see this. Look at this. And here's the thing. The whole time, you're only thinking about the person you know and what a fool they're making of themselves. You're not taking the other person's side. You just feel for the one who's close to you. Okay, so let's turn the tables. If you are the one ranting and raving and having a one-man brouhaha online, what do you think your friends and family are thinking? Probably the exact same thing you were thinking earlier when it was somebody else melting down. So, have you ever watched somebody else do this? Well, congratulations. You've just become that guy. And look, being angry doesn't make you a bad person. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be frustrated. You're allowed to have emotions. But part of becoming a functional adult is learning a little restraint. For example, in my house, I control the TV remote. That's my department. To be clear, I am the alpha and the omega of anything that happens on that television, especially when I'm holding the remote. Well, okay, unless my wife suddenly needs to watch one of those movies with talking dogs and life lessons. Apparently, superhero movies are fake, but talking dogs are not. Who knew? But apparently, democracy returns to the household. My point is this. If I'm watching something on TV and it starts irritating me, you know what I do? I change the channel. That's it. Problem solved. So when you see something online that makes your blood pressure start climbing into another zip code, maybe change the channel. Get off the app. Watch something else. Go outside. Go do something useful. Because you actually have control over what you consume. Most people just forget that. Because the internet can be an incredible tool. You can learn almost anything. Build a business. Build a skill. Stay connected. Get information in seconds that used to take days to find out. But at the same time, it's convinced a whole lot of people to lose every ounce of restraint they ever had. Everybody's angry. Everybody's performing. Everybody's oversharing. Everybody's trying to be famous for 5 minutes, recording themselves doing things that future employers, future spouses, future attorneys are eventually going to find. And somewhere in the middle of all that noise, people stopped asking one simple question. Should I post this at all? I was watching the news the other day, one of those opinion shows where everybody talks for 2 hours and somehow says absolutely nothing. Modern media has really perfected that skill. I'm genuinely impressed. 2 solid hours and you walk away with less information than you started with. But one of the commentators said something that struck me. They said that they were sure that the internet sleuths would eventually figure it out. And that got me thinking. The internet never forgets. Once something's online, there's a real good chance it stays online forever. Somebody saw it, somebody copied it, somebody screenshotted it, and somebody archived it. You can delete it all you want. That doesn't mean it's gone. But while you were emotional and venting, somebody else may be quietly sizing you up. The person you want to date is scrolling. The employer you want to work for is scrolling. The college reviewing your application is scrolling. The customer deciding whether to trust you is scrolling. Most men don't lose because they're wrong. They lose because they couldn't shut up. The internet is a permanent background check you volunteered for. You don't get to pause it. You don't get to explain it. You don't get to say, that's not who I am anymore. And the worst part, you handed them the evidence. Years ago, if you got mad at somebody, there were obstacles. You had to find a pen. You had to find paper. You had to write the letter, find an envelope, find a stamp, take it to the mailbox, and somewhere in all those steps, common sense usually caught up with emotion. You dropped that angry letter in the mail and you sat there thinking, man, in about 3 days, that person's going to get the real piece of my mind. Today, you can be sitting in your recliner, wearing your gym shorts, eating cold pizza, and launch your anger into the entire world before the commercial break is over. That's not progress. That's convenience with your restraint. The internet removed the friction. It did not remove the consequence. You know what's funny? Most people think their biggest problem is the person they're arguing with. It's usually not. Most of the time, the biggest problem is the version of themselves that's doing the arguing. There have been times in my life when I was absolutely furious. I'm not irritated, not annoyed. I mean the kind of angry where you're replaying the conversation in your head while you're brushing the teeth the next day. You're driving to work, still arguing with somebody who isn't even in your truck. You start thinking of all the things you should have said, the perfect comeback, the perfect insult, perfect speech that would have left everybody standing there stunned by your brilliance. And then 24 hours go by and suddenly those brilliant thoughts don't seem nearly that brilliant. Funny how that works. I've learned something over the years. The angriest version of Liam is usually the dumbest version of Liam. That guy should not be making decisions. He definitely shouldn't be posting them online because anger lies. It tells you that this is the most important thing in the world. It tells you that you've got to respond now. It tells everybody needs to hear your side of the story immediately. And most of the time, that's nonsense. Most arguments aren't emergencies. Their insults aren't emergencies. Most disagreements aren't emergencies. But the internet tricks people into acting like they are. Everything feels urgent. Everything feels like it needs a response this second. And the reality is most things get dramatically less important after a good night's sleep. I've lost count of how many times I've written something out, looked at it, closed the app, and came back the next day. And you know what happened? Nothing. The earth kept spinning. The sun came up. Civilization survived. Nobody issued a national emergency bulletin because Liam James Miller didn't post his opinion on the internet. Shocking, I know. And that's really the lesson. Time is your friend. Emotion is not. When you're emotional, your vision narrows. You stop seeing consequences. You stop seeing risk. You stop seeing tomorrow. All you see is the feeling. And that's why one of the most useful skills a man can build is learning how to put distance between the emotion and the action. Go mow the yard. Go lift some weights. Go walk the dog. Go fix something. Build something. Do anything useful for an hour. Because here's what usually happens. The emotion starts cooling off. The problem starts shrinking. And common sense starts coming back online. That's not weakness. That's maturity. Anybody can react. A useful man learns how to respond. One is emotional. The other is intentional. One creates problems. The other solves them. The older I get, the more convinced I am that half the problems people make for themselves would just disappear if they waited until tomorrow before hitting send. Before I post anything, when I'm irritated, I run it through 3 filters. 3 simple questions. Does this need to be said? Does this need to be said by me? And does this need to be said right now? If I answer no to even one of those, I close the app and I go do something productive. Because the internet is full of people who confuse having a thought with needing an audience. So here's a radical idea. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to defend yourself to strangers. You don't have to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. And you sure don't have to correct every fool on the internet. Some people aren't looking for a conversation. They're looking for a victim. And the moment you start arguing with them, they've already won because now they're controlling your time. The strongest man in the room isn't always the loudest. Sometimes he's the guy who looked at the message, looked at the comment, looked at the argument, and decided it wasn't worth 6 years of consequences for 6 seconds of satisfaction. Anybody can hit send. Restraint is harder. Think before you act. Because they don't know you were angry. They don't know you were hurt. They don't know that you were having a terrible day. All they see is a snapshot you left behind. And here's the funny thing. The internet isn't dangerous because of what we post. It's dangerous because of who we let into our lives. The next time we sit down together, we're going to talk about fake friends, fake followers, fake validation, and why some people know every detail about your life, but couldn't pick you out of a police lineup. That's where we're headed next. Thanks for spending some useful time with me. I'm out of here. Hit the like button and remember to be useful. The world needs more of it. And if possible, try not to end up on the evening news. If you do, you don't know me. I don't know you. I'll catch you on the next one.